The FBI remains an organization in jeopardy. And what we're looking at are the echoes and the waves of dysfunction that started under Jim Comey as the director and then proceeded through the tenure of Director Chris Wray. And we're going to share a few thoughts today, and I'm going to have this video I'm going to play with John Solomon, a well-known journalist, and we're going to look at some of the FBI's challenges.
Now, contrast this to what was going on in the same Washington field office, in the same FBI under Chris Wray. In that same time frame is when all that intelligence comes in that China might be intervening in the U.S. election, getting fake driver's licenses and fake ballots so they can help Joe Biden win. And what does the FBI do with that one? It says, circular, we're going to throw it in the garbage can.
All right, so what we're looking at is FBI not taking action when it found that the Chinese, probably among other players, were trying to influence, at least on some level, the election process, whether they were looking to inject doubt, uncertainty, or what have you. They were looking to somehow influence the mechanics. The FBI, under previous leadership, did nothing. So it shows you that they either had a preference that they exercised by taking no action, or that they maybe it was just incompetence. Hard to tell at this point. All right, let's go back to the video.
That is the FBI in 2020. It was just as bad and maybe even worse under Chris Wray than it was in 2016 under Comey. The mindset was not crushed, and it became more emboldened in 20.
All right, so let's stop there. When Jim Comey came into office as the FBI director, him and the other senior folks started trying to move the FBI toward a more corporate private sector mindset. And as we know now, Jim Comey and some of the other senior leaders were much more left-leaning in their personal politics. And the FBI then started listing in that direction. So corporatizing the FBI, moving toward more of a left-leaning position on things, had the FBI heading towards some really hard times.
And then in 21, 22, you see how emboldened it is when they get to Arctic frost. This cancer kept spreading, it kept metastasizing, and more people thought it was okay to settle political scores under the power of government color.
Okay, so the FBI began leaning in a direction, which the FBI is supposed to be apolitical in all the things that it does. It's supposed to have an objective, skillful, neutral application of the law. And we found senior officials beginning to substitute their own personal ideologies and beliefs for FBI mission parameters that used to keep the FBI pretty centered on things, not leaning one way or another too much. And I'll tell you, when I was still with the FBI, we never even knew what our colleagues' official political positions were. I would just say that the FBI changed significantly starting in 2020 with the world pandemic health issues, and under the leadership of Christopher Wray as a director. And I'll tell you another thing people don't say anything about, but you have to look at who the deputy directors were in those time periods, because those folks are just as important as the directors. The deputy directors were the operations chiefs for the organization, the most senior FBI career agent, and they were omnipotent.
And I think that's the cancer we're now fighting, and it's more deep-rooted today than it's ever been. There's been a lot of, progress made in firing and moving people, but there are agents.
I don't think very much progress has been made, actually. I think what you're seeing is a rearranging of the deck chairs on the Titanic. And where the FBI has to focus its efforts is on changing the organizational culture. The current culture at the FBI is not productive, and it's more of a private sector thought process in some areas, and you can see where that has led us. The second area they have to focus on is the leadership environment. What the FBI requires are people who are going to be principled leaders, operationally effective managers, and folks who want to do the job in that skilled, objective, apolitical, and professional manner, and will settle for nothing less. The last area the FBI has to look at is its operational practices. Is it doing what it says it's doing, and is it doing what it's supposed to be doing under FBI investigative policies, practices, parameters, under legal requirements? And is the FBI staying away from making decisions based on ideology or political preference?
Agencies we don't even talk about, like the National Archives, that were in on this. They were helping this machinery to crush MAGA, create the MAGA dragnet and crash the MAGA movement. And we have a lot of work to expose who all those people are. We're hardly, maybe 3% into the project. Now,
okay. I believe that once the Biden administration came into power, there were many people in various organizations who felt it was their time. They felt it was time to advance the left, extreme liberal position in the government. We saw the push for certain initiatives, the DEI initiatives and all that. And I think that they kind of found that they joined together in ideology. They lost track of their mission. They lost track of the fact that the federal government is there to provide essential services to the American people, not to promote a specific political or ideological position. I'm concerned about the current state of my FBI. I know they've been in the news a lot, and they've been in social media too much. I think we have to go back and look at what used to make the FBI great, bring some of those practices and beliefs back, and regain the trust of the American people, if that's even possible at this point.